Close your eyes and picture the most terrifying creature you can imagine lurking in the deep ocean. Huge, tooth-filled, ancient. A dinosaur that never has to touch land. Now here's the unsettling twist. That monster never existed, not because nature lacked imagination, but because the ocean had rules dinosaurs could never break, while movies filled the seas with prehistoric nightmares. Real evolution was busy doing something far stranger. Over the next few hours, we're diving into why dinosaurs ruled the land, but never the ocean, and why the creatures that did live down there might be even more terrifying than anything Hollywood ever invented. Picture this. The camera dives beneath dark rolling waves. Ominous music swells. Something massive moves in the gloom below, its silhouette crowned with spines and teeth the size of traffic cones. A so-called sea dinosaur bursts from the water, roaring triumphantly, because apparently roaring underwater is very effective cinema. We have all seen this creature before, in movies, documentaries that lean a little too hard into drama and childhood imagination, and it feels reasonable, right? Dinosaurs were big. The ocean is big. Surely at some point the two shook hands and agreed to terrorize sailors together. But here is the twist that makes paleontology quietly chuckle to itself. That creature never existed, not even close. And not because nature lacked imagination, but because evolution plays by rules that Hollywood likes to ignore when the popcorn budget gets involved. The ocean, after all, is not some minor side environment. It covers more than 2/3 of the planet. It has trenches deeper than mountains are tall, ecosystems older than forests, and predators that make lions look like nervous interns. If there were ever a place where dinosaurs should have gone full aquatic, it would have been there. Yet somehow, through all of deep time, through mass extinctions, continental drift, and millions of evolutionary experiments, not one true dinosaur became a fully marine, open ocean animal. No dinosaur equivalent of a whale. No dinosaur cruising the abyss. No dinosaur that clocked in underwater and never came back on land for lunch. So what happened? Did dinosaurs just look at the ocean and say, "No thanks, seems wet"? Did marine life have a strict no dinosaur policy? Or is this one of those moments where nature reminds us that not everything that seems obvious actually works? To answer that, we need to start by clearing away a very stubborn mental image. Dinosaurs, in popular culture, have become a kind of flexible monster category. Big reptile, dinosaur. Sharp teeth, definitely dinosaur. Lives a long time ago, dinosaur, obviously. This mental shortcut is how everything from flying reptiles to giant sea hunters accidentally gets lumped into the dinosaur box, like an ancient lost and found that no one ever organized. But science is less forgiving. Paleontology does not care how cool something looks emerging from fog. It cares about lineage, structure, and ancestry. And when scientists talk about dinosaurs, they are talking about a very specific group of animals with very specific evolutionary baggage. Baggage that turns out to be extremely inconvenient if you want to live your entire life underwater. The ocean is not just land with water added. It is a completely different physical universe. Water resists movement far more than air. Pressure increases dramatically with depth. Heat drains from bodies faster. Sound travels differently. Light disappears. And every animal that thrives there has been sculpted by those conditions, sometimes in radical ways. The ocean does not politely accommodate visitors. It demands commitment, full commitment. Miss a few adaptations, and you are not majestic. You are lunch. Dinosaurs, as it turns out, were deeply committed to land. Not emotionally, of course. Evolution does not do feelings, but structurally, physiologically, and reproductively, dinosaurs were built around a terrestrial lifestyle. They were masters of it. They dominated it for over 160 million years. Forests, plains, deserts, floodplains. Dinosaurs turned Earth's land into their personal stage. The ocean, meanwhile, was already hosting its own cast of specialists, many of whom had been refining their aquatic skills long before dinosaurs ever showed up. This is where the movie illusion really starts to crack. When we imagine a sea dinosaur, we are imagining an animal that casually ignores its ancestry, shrugs off millions of years of evolutionary tuning, and simply decides to become a marine super predator because the plot needs one. Real evolution does not work like that. It does not plan ahead. It does not redesign from scratch. It modifies what already exists, one generation at a time, like a tinkerer who refuses to throw anything away, even when it clearly does not belong in water. And here is the key idea this entire story hinges on. The absence of true water dinosaurs is not a failure of evolution. It is a demonstration of how precise and constrained evolution actually is. Certain body plans open doors, others quietly lock them. Dinosaurs inherited a set of traits that made them spectacularly successful on land, but those same traits placed invisible walls between them and a fully aquatic life. That is the mystery we are going to unravel piece by piece, not by asking why dinosaurs were not cool enough to live underwater, but by asking what it actually takes to survive there at all. Because once you understand the ocean's rules, it becomes very clear why dinosaurs never became its permanent residents. And along the way, we will meet animals that did conquer the sea, creatures that look like dinosaurs but are absolutely not, and a few that tried to blur the line and almost fooled us. By the end, the real surprise will not be that there was never a true water dinosaur. It will be that the ocean let anyone in at all. Before we can explain why dinosaurs never truly moved into the ocean, we need to do something far less cinematic, but far more important. We need to define what a dinosaur actually is. Not the movie version, not the toy aisle version, the real, anatomical, science-approved dinosaur. Because once you understand that definition, the idea of a fully aquatic dinosaur starts to look less like a missed opportunity and more like a square peg staring nervously at a round, water-filled hole. In science, a dinosaur is not defined by size, teeth, or how intimidating it looks in silhouette. A dinosaur is defined by its skeleton, more specifically, by a very particular arrangement of bones that evolved for life on land. One of the most important features is the way dinosaurs stood and moved. Unlike most reptiles, whose legs sprawl out to the sides like a lizard doing push-ups, dinosaurs had legs positioned directly beneath their bodies. This upright posture turned them into efficient walkers and runners. It allowed them to support large body sizes, move long distances, and breathe more effectively while in motion. On land, this posture is a game changer. It is the difference between waddling and striding. It is why dinosaurs could grow massive without collapsing into a pile of elbows. But underwater, this same feature becomes less of an advantage and more of a design inconvenience. Legs built to support weight against gravity do not automatically translate into effective tools for pushing against water. It is a bit like bringing hiking boots to a swimming pool, technically functional, but deeply confused about the assignment. Then there is the hip structure. Dinosaurs are split into two major groups based on hip anatomy, but both versions are built around stabilizing the body for terrestrial locomotion. These hips anchor powerful muscles used for walking, running, and standing tall. They are optimized for transmitting force downward into the ground, not backward into water. In aquatic animals, propulsion comes from pushing water behind you efficiently, often with broad surfaces like tails or flippers. Dinosaur hips were never designed with that kind of motion as the primary goal. And speaking of tails, dinosaur tails were remarkable structures. They acted as counterbalances, stabilizers, and muscle anchors. When a dinosaur ran, its tail helped keep the body aligned and balanced over its legs. This is perfect for sprinting across floodplains or stalking prey through forests. But underwater, a tail needs to be something very different. It needs to be flexible in specific directions, broad enough to push water, and coordinated with the rest of the body in a wave-like motion. Dinosaur tails were busy doing land dinosaur things. Asking them to suddenly become high-performance aquatic engines is like asking a tightrope pole to double as a paddle. Another defining feature of dinosaurs is how their limbs were built overall. Their arms and legs are long, jointed, and designed for precise, controlled movement against solid ground. Water does not offer that kind of resistance. It demands wide strokes and continuous propulsion. Dinosaurs did not evolve flattened limbs, webbed extremities, or other structures that naturally interact well with dense, fluid environments. Their limbs were about leverage and impact, not drag and flow. Even the way dinosaur bodies were proportioned points to a land-first identity. Their center of mass, muscle distribution, and skeletal reinforcement all reflect the need to move efficiently under gravity. Water changes those rules completely. Buoyancy alters how weight is distributed. Resistance replaces friction. An animal that excels in one system does not automatically function in the other. Evolution does not reward versatility unless there is consistent pressure to do so. And here is the critical part. Dinosaurs did not evolve in a vacuum. Their defining traits emerged early in their lineage and became the foundation for everything that followed. Once those traits were locked in, every new dinosaur species inherited them. Evolution could modify details, scale things up or down, add spikes here or feathers there, but the core blueprint remained stubbornly terrestrial. This is why calling marine reptiles dinosaurs is such a common and understandable mistake. Many of those animals lived at the same time, shared the same planet, and sometimes even shared similar sizes and predatory roles. But anatomically, they were built on entirely different blueprints. Dinosaurs were land specialists from the ground up, quite literally. So when we ask why there was never a true water dinosaur, part of the answer is already staring us in the skeleton. Dinosaurs were not blank slates that could easily be rewritten for aquatic life. They were highly specialized machines, tuned for land dominance. Turning them into full-time ocean dwellers would not have required a few tweaks. It would have required tearing up the blueprint and starting over. And evolution, famously, does not like starting over. To understand why dinosaurs never truly moved into the ocean, we have to travel backward, long before the first famous giants ever shook the ground. We need to go to a time when dinosaurs were not enormous, not terrifying, and not particularly impressive. They were small, nimble, and trying very hard not to get eaten. And from the very beginning, they were doing all of this on land. Dinosaurs emerged during the Triassic period, a world still recovering from the most devastating mass extinction Earth had ever seen. The land was hot, dry, and unstable. Ecosystems were wide open, not because life was thriving, but because so much of it had been wiped out. In this harsh setting, early dinosaur ancestors evolved as fast, upright moving animals. Speed mattered, endurance mattered. The ability to move efficiently across vast stretches of land could mean the difference between finding food and becoming food. This is where dinosaurs made their first major evolutionary commitments. Their bodies began to favor sustained movement over short bursts. Long legs, efficient strides, and balanced postures were not cosmetic features. They were survival strategies. These animals were built to travel, to chase, to escape, and to exploit terrestrial environments that were constantly changing. Crucially, their lungs and breathing systems evolved in sync with this lifestyle. Life on land demands a reliable way to move oxygen in and out of the body while the animal is active. Dinosaurs developed respiratory systems that supported high levels of activity without forcing them to stop and pant every few steps. This was an enormous advantage in a competitive landscape, but it was an advantage tailored for air, not water. Breathing air is easy when you live on land. It is everywhere. Breathing underwater, on the other hand, requires a completely different approach. Dinosaurs never faced evolutionary pressure to solve that problem. Their ancestors were not dabbling along coastlines, experimenting with underwater living. They were busy, mastering the ground beneath their feet. Evolution only responds to the challenges an organism actually faces, not the hypothetical ones we invent later. As dinosaurs diversified, this land-based momentum only increased. Different groups specialized for different terrestrial roles. Some became powerful predators. Others evolved into plant-eating machines capable of processing enormous amounts of vegetation, but all of them remain tied to land ecosystems. Forests, floodplains, deserts, and plains shaped their evolution. The ocean remained a separate world, with its own inhabitants already adapting to its demands. This is an important point that often gets overlooked. By the time dinosaurs were becoming ecologically dominant on land, the oceans were not empty. They were full of life that had been evolving in water continuously. These marine organisms were not newcomers. They had lineages stretching back hundreds of millions of years. They were already deeply adapted to swimming, diving, and surviving under pressure. Dinosaurs would not have been entering an open niche. They would have been stepping into a crowded, competitive arena where they had no home field advantage. Evolution tends to favor incremental changes built on existing strengths. Dinosaurs were becoming better runners, better walkers, better land predators, and herbivores. There was no evolutionary incentive for them to abandon a winning strategy. Becoming fully aquatic would have required a slow, step-by-step transition that offered clear benefits at every stage. But for dinosaurs, the benefits were not obvious. Land was working just fine. There is also the matter of timing. Dinosaurs rose to prominence relatively quickly in geological terms. Once they established themselves, they spread across the continents. Their success reduced the need for radical experimentation. Evolution often becomes more conservative once a lineage finds a stable and profitable niche. Innovation does not stop, but it becomes more focused. For dinosaurs, that focus stayed firmly on land. Think of evolution like a long road trip with no map and no destination in mind. Every turn you take depends on the road in front of you. Dinosaurs started on a highway labeled terrestrial life, and they kept finding smooth pavement, abundant resources, and fewer obstacles than their competitors. There was never a sign saying ocean detour ahead, and even if there had been, the vehicle they were driving was not built for it. By the time dinosaurs had fully established their identity, their evolutionary trajectory was set. Their bodies, behaviors, and physiological systems were all aligned toward a life spent breathing air, moving over solid ground, and interacting with land-based ecosystems. The ocean was not ignored out of fear or inability. It was simply never part of the plan. And that is the quiet power of evolutionary history. Once a lineage commits to a path and finds success, it rarely turns around. Dinosaurs did not fail to become aquatic. They succeeded so thoroughly on land that the sea never had a chance to lure them away. If dinosaurs never truly conquered the oceans, then who were those massive, tooth-filled creatures cruising ancient seas and starring in every documentary montage, involving dramatic music and swirling water? This is where the confusion really sets in, because the oceans of the Mesozoic era were absolutely crawling with giant reptiles, many of them just as intimidating as any land dinosaur. Long jaws, powerful tails, enormous bodies. If you squint, they look like dinosaurs that forgot their hiking boots. But scientifically, they are something else entirely. Meet the marine reptiles, ichthyosaurs, plesiosaurs, mosasaurs. These animals ruled the seas for millions of years, and they did it so effectively that they often get promoted, incorrectly, into the dinosaur club. But these creatures were not aquatic dinosaurs. They were reptiles that took a completely different evolutionary road, one that branched off long before dinosaurs ever became a thing. The key difference lies in ancestry. Marine reptiles and dinosaurs share a distant common ancestor, but that ancestor lived far back in reptile history, before dinosaurs emerged as a distinct group. From that early split, different lineages experimented with different lifestyles. One branch eventually led to dinosaurs dominating the land. Another branch went all in on aquatic life, producing animals that would become masters of the ocean. Ichthyosaurs are a perfect example of how misleading appearances can be. They looked remarkably similar to modern dolphins, with streamlined bodies, long snouts, and powerful tail fins. This was not coincidence, it was convergence. When animals evolve to live in the same environment, they often end up looking alike. even if they are not closely related. Water rewards certain shapes, and ichthyosaurs found them early. Dinosaurs, meanwhile, were off doing something else entirely. Plesiosaurs took a different aquatic approach. Some had long necks and small heads. Others had massive jaws and short necks. But all of them were built around flippers, wide bodies, and swimming styles that made sense in water. Their anatomy did not evolve from dinosaur ancestors. It evolved from reptiles that had already started adapting to aquatic life before dinosaurs established their terrestrial dominance. This distinction matters because it shows that the ocean was not waiting for dinosaurs to show up. It was already being explored by lineages that were structurally free to experiment with aquatic living. They were not burdened by the same land-optimized traits that dinosaurs inherited. They could reshape their bodies more freely, gradually refining themselves into efficient swimmers, divers, and hunters. From an evolutionary perspective, these marine reptiles were early adopters. They moved into the ocean when the opportunity was fresh and the competition was manageable. They had time to refine their designs, generation after generation, until they became perfectly suited to life in water. Dinosaurs, arriving later and already specialized for land, were essentially locked out by timing and design. The bat and bird comparison helps here because it highlights how misleading surface similarities can be. Bats and birds both fly. They both have wings. They both fill the same ecological role in the sky, but they are built differently, evolved differently, and come from entirely separate branches of the animal family tree. No one argues that bats are birds just because they flap. In the same way, marine reptiles are not dinosaurs just because they were big, scaly, and terrifying. Another reason this confusion persists is cultural momentum. Once an image takes hold in popular imagination, it is hard to shake. Giant reptile in the ocean equals sea dinosaur. It is catchy. It sounds cool. It fits neatly into a narrative where dinosaurs are everywhere, doing everything. But science is not obligated to respect catchy narratives. Marine reptiles deserve their own recognition. They were not dinosaur knockoffs. They were evolutionary success stories in their own right. Some evolved live birth, others developed advanced swimming techniques, and many became apex predators of their time. They did not need to be dinosaurs to be impressive. In fact, their success highlights exactly why dinosaurs were not necessary in the ocean at all. By separating dinosaurs from marine reptiles, we sharpen the central mystery rather than weaken it. The ocean was absolutely capable of supporting giant reptilian predators. It did so repeatedly, just not with dinosaurs. And that distinction is not arbitrary. It is the result of deep evolutionary history, branching in different directions and committing to different solutions. Once you understand that, the phrase water dinosaur starts to feel less like a scientific question and more like a category error. The ocean did not lack monsters. It simply chose a different blueprint. By the time dinosaurs were settling comfortably into their role as land rulers, the oceans were already spoken for. Not politely reserved either, more like aggressively occupied by creatures that had spent millions of years perfecting the art of underwater survival. The idea that dinosaurs might have simply wandered into the sea and taken over ignores a crucial ecological reality. You cannot just move into a neighborhood where every house is already owned by apex predators and expect things to work out. The marine environment is brutally competitive, especially at the top of the food chain. Becoming a dominant ocean predator requires more than size and teeth. It requires speed, endurance, sensory precision, and the ability to function flawlessly in 3 dimensions. Marine reptiles began developing these traits long before dinosaurs had any reason to care about the sea. These early marine reptiles entered the water during a time of ecological opportunity. After major extinction events, marine ecosystems were reorganizing, leaving open niches for predators that could exploit them. Reptiles that were not yet locked into a strictly land-based body plan began spending more time in coastal waters, hunting fish and other marine prey. Over time, natural selection favored individuals that could swim better, dive longer, and maneuver more efficiently. The result was a rapid escalation of aquatic specialization. Once that process started, it snowballed. Better swimmers caught more prey. Better divers accessed untapped food sources. Better hunters survived and reproduced. Within a relatively short geological window, the oceans were home to fast, streamlined predators with finely tuned senses and lethal efficiency. These animals were not experimenting, they were committing. Dinosaurs, meanwhile, were investing their evolutionary energy elsewhere. They were refining land-based strategies, diversifying into countless forms that filled terrestrial ecosystems from top to bottom. Their success on land reduced the pressure to seek resources elsewhere. There was no urgent need to challenge the ocean's residents when forests and plains provided plenty of opportunity. Even if a dinosaur species had begun venturing more frequently into coastal waters, it would have faced immediate competition from animals already optimized for that environment. In evolutionary terms, this is a steep uphill climb. Competing against specialists while being a generalist or beginner rarely ends well. The ocean does not reward half measures. Predation in water also follows different rules than on land. On land, ambush, strength, and short bursts of speed can dominate. In the ocean, pursuit often happens over longer distances and in all directions. Prey can escape upward, downward, or laterally. A predator must maintain speed, control, and awareness in a constantly shifting environment. Marine reptiles had already adapted to these demands. Dinosaurs had not. There is also the matter of scale. Once large marine predators are established, they shape the entire ecosystem around them. They influence prey behavior, population sizes, and even the evolution of other predators. This creates a kind of ecological inertia. New entrants are not just competing with individual animals, but with a system that already works. Breaking into that system requires either a radical advantage or an empty niche. Dinosaurs had neither. Think of it like arriving late to a professional sport where every position is filled by athletes who have trained their entire lives. You might be strong, you might be fast, but if you have never learned the rules of the game, the odds are not in your favor. Marine reptiles had been training for aquatic life for millions of years. Dinosaurs were still learning how to dominate land. The ocean also imposes relentless selective pressure. Mistakes are costly, poor swimmers drown, inefficient hunters starve. There is little room for transitional forms that are only somewhat adapted. This environment accelerates specialization and punishes compromise. Marine reptiles that entered the water early were forced to adapt quickly or disappear. Those that succeeded did so thoroughly. By the time dinosaurs might have considered expanding into marine predation, the window had closed. The ocean was no longer an open frontier. It was a mature, competitive ecosystem with entrenched players. Dinosaurs, despite their success elsewhere, were outsiders. This is not a story of dinosaurs failing to compete. It is a story of timing and momentum. Marine reptiles moved first, adapted faster, and claimed the ecological high ground. Dinosaurs arrived too late, with the wrong toolkit, and no compelling reason to start over. So when we imagine dinosaurs gazing longingly at the sea, it is not because they lacked ambition. It is because evolution had already dealt the ocean's winning hand, and dinosaurs were holding cards meant for land. If you want to live in the ocean, you need to make peace with a simple but unforgiving rule. Water decides whether you float, sink, or hover awkwardly in between, and it does not care how fearsome you look while doing it. This is where physics quietly steps in and explains why dinosaurs were never going to glide effortlessly through the depths. Buoyancy is the upward force exerted by water that counteracts gravity. Animals that live in water do not fight gravity the same way land animals do. Instead, they manage their density, carefully balancing how heavy they are against how much water they displace. Too light, and you bob uncontrollably at the surface. Too heavy, and you sink like a dropped anchor. Successful aquatic animals fine-tune this balance with remarkable precision. Dinosaurs were not built for that kind of fine-tuning. Their skeletons were designed first and foremost to support large bodies on land. Dense bones provided strength, stability, and resistance to the stresses of walking, running, and standing upright under gravity. These bones acted like structural beams, reinforcing bodies that often weighed several tons. On land, heavier bones are an advantage. They prevent collapse, they anchor muscles, they make movement efficient. In water, that same density becomes a liability. Heavy bones increase overall body density, making it harder to achieve neutral buoyancy. Instead of hovering gracefully in the water column, an animal with dense bones must constantly work to avoid sinking. That means more energy spent just staying afloat, less energy available for hunting, escaping, or reproducing. In the ocean, energy efficiency is survival. Aquatic animals solve this problem in various ways. Some reduce bone density, creating lighter skeletons that offset body mass. Others incorporate air-filled spaces or specialized tissues that help control buoyancy. Some even adjust buoyancy dynamically, fine-tuning their position in the water as they move. These solutions did not appear overnight. They evolved through consistent pressure to function efficiently in water. Dinosaurs never faced that pressure. Their environments rewarded strong, load-bearing skeletons. Evolution reinforced that design again and again. Over time, their bones became even better suited for terrestrial life. This made any hypothetical transition to deep water increasingly difficult. Each improvement for land made the ocean a little more hostile. Imagine a large dinosaur stepping into the sea. At first, shallow water might seem manageable, but as depth increases, the challenge compounds. Dense bones pull the body downward. The animal must expend constant effort to counteract sinking. Movement becomes laborious. Turning, accelerating, or maintaining depth requires continuous muscular work. This is not the smooth, energy-saving locomotion seen in true aquatic animals. It is a struggle. The deeper the water, the worse it gets. Pressure increases, reducing the effectiveness of any trapped air that might provide lift. The animal becomes even denser relative to its surroundings. Without structural adaptations specifically designed for buoyancy control, deep water becomes a physical trap. This is not just a hypothetical issue. Body density is one of the clearest dividing lines between land animals and aquatic ones. It shapes everything from movement style to hunting strategy. Animals that cross that line successfully do so by reshaping their internal architecture. They do not simply take their land skeleton and hope for the best. Dinosaurs, by contrast, doubled down on density. Even species that developed lighter skeletal features still retained overall structures optimized for land. Their bones needed to withstand impacts, support large muscles, and resist bending under weight. These requirements are fundamentally at odds with the demands of deep-sea living. There is also a feedback loop at work. As dinosaurs grew larger, their bones had to become stronger. Stronger often meant denser. Denser meant heavier. Heavier meant worse buoyancy. The very traits that allowed dinosaurs to reach impressive sizes on land quietly closed the door to aquatic life. This is why the idea of a dinosaur effortlessly patrolling the deep ocean is more fantasy than fact. The physics simply does not cooperate. Without a radical re-engineering of skeletal structure, dinosaurs would be fighting their own bodies every second underwater. Evolution does not like constant fights. It prefers designs that work with the environment, not against it. For dinosaurs, dense, land-supporting bones were a winning strategy where they lived. In the ocean, that same strategy would have dragged them down, literally. So if dinosaurs ever looked toward the deep sea, buoyancy alone would have given them a very clear message. This place is not built for you. Breathing is one of those biological processes we rarely think about, mostly because stopping tends to make the problem very obvious very quickly. On land, air is abundant, oxygen is easy to access, and even large animals can get away with fairly simple solutions. In the ocean, breathing becomes a logistical challenge that shapes nearly every aspect of an animal's life. And this is one of the biggest reasons dinosaurs never became true aquatic residents. Water and air are very different environments when it comes to oxygen. Air is light, easy to move, and rich in oxygen. Water is heavy, resistant, and contains far less oxygen by volume. Aquatic animals cannot simply breathe the way land animals do and hope for the best. They need specialized systems that allow them to access oxygen efficiently without drowning in the process. Fully aquatic animals solve this problem in a few major ways. Some extract oxygen directly from water using gills. Others, like whales and dolphins, breathe air but have radically modified respiratory systems that allow them to hold their breath for long periods, surface efficiently, and avoid inhaling water. These systems involve changes to lung structure, oxygen storage in blood and muscles, and precise control over breathing and circulation. Dinosaurs had none of these adaptations. Their respiratory systems evolved to support active movement on land, where oxygen was plentiful and breathing interruptions were minimal. They inhaled and exhaled air through nostrils, located at the front of the face, just like most land animals. This works wonderfully when your head is usually above ground. Underwater, it becomes a liability. A fully aquatic air-breathing animal needs to minimize the time and energy spent surfacing. Every trip to the surface is risky. It exposes the animal to predators, costs energy, and limits how deep or how long it can dive. Modern marine mammals have evolved blowholes positioned on top of their heads, allowing them to surface briefly and inhale without lifting their entire body out of the water. Dinosaurs never developed anything remotely like this. Their nostrils were not optimized for quick, efficient surface breathing. Surfacing would require awkward body positioning, increased drag, and longer exposure at the surface. Over evolutionary time, these inefficiencies matter. Animals that waste less energy survive better. Dinosaurs, with their land-based breathing setup, would have been at a constant disadvantage. Then there is breath-holding capacity. Aquatic divers can suppress breathing reflexes, slow their heart rates, and store large amounts of oxygen in specialized tissues. This allows them to remain underwater for extended periods without damage. Dinosaurs show no evidence of such adaptations. Their physiology was built around continuous access to air, not prolonged deprivation. Without the ability to stay submerged for long, a dinosaur attempting full aquatic life would be confined to shallow water that severely limits available food sources and exposes the animal to competition and danger. The deeper, richer hunting grounds would remain out of reach, occupied by animals that could stay down longer and move more efficiently. Breathing also affects movement. Lung placement and flexibility influence buoyancy and balance. In aquatic animals, lungs often play a role in controlling position in the water column. Adjusting lung volume can help an animal rise or sink with minimal effort. Dinosaurs lack this kind of integration between breathing and movement. Their lungs were designed for oxygen exchange, not buoyancy control. There is also the problem of water pressure. As an animal dives deeper, pressure increases, compressing air spaces in the body. Aquatic animals have evolved ways to manage this, protecting lungs and preventing collapse or injury. Dinosaurs never faced evolutionary pressure to solve this problem. Their bodies were not built to handle repeated deep dives without damage. And finally, there is the issue of safety. Breathing underwater carries constant risk. One mistake can be fatal. Animals that live in water have evolved reflexes and structural barriers to prevent water from entering the lungs. These are not minor tweaks. They are fundamental changes to anatomy and control systems. Dinosaurs show no sign of having them. Evolution does not reward animals that gamble with basic survival functions. Holding your breath longer, surfacing more often, or tolerating minor inefficiencies might work occasionally, but over millions of years, it is a losing strategy. Fully aquatic life demands respiratory systems designed specifically for that environment. Dinosaurs never developed those systems because they never needed them. Their success on land meant breathing was easy, reliable, and rarely limiting. The ocean, by contrast, would have turned breathing into a constant challenge. And when an environment makes something as basic as breathing difficult, it sends a very clear evolutionary message. You do not belong here. Reproduction is where many bold evolutionary experiments quietly fail. An animal can swim well, hunt well, and survive adulthood. But if it cannot successfully bring the next generation into the world, its lineage ends there. For dinosaurs, reproduction turned out to be one of the most stubborn barriers preventing a fully aquatic lifestyle. Dinosaurs reproduced by laying hard-shelled eggs on land. This was not a minor detail of their biology. It was a deeply embedded reproductive strategy inherited from their ancestors and reinforced across countless species. Hard shells protect developing embryos from dehydration, physical damage, and environmental fluctuations on land. They are a fantastic solution for terrestrial life. In water, they are a disaster. Hard-shelled eggs do not function well underwater. Gas exchange becomes difficult. Water pressure can interfere with development, and the rigid shell, so useful on land, becomes a liability in an aquatic environment. For animals that live fully in water, reproduction requires either soft, flexible eggs, adapted to aquatic conditions, or live birth, where the developing young are protected inside the parent's body. Marine reptiles solved this problem early. Many evolved live birth, allowing them to reproduce without ever returning to land. This freed them completely from terrestrial constraints. Once reproduction moved fully into the water, the transition to permanent aquatic life became far more feasible. Dinosaurs never made this leap. To become fully aquatic, a dinosaur would have faced a reproductive paradox. It could hunt, feed, and live in the water, but it would still need land to reproduce. That means regular trips ashore, vulnerable nesting sites, and dependence on coastal environments. This is not full aquatic life. It is a logistical nightmare. Nesting also introduces additional challenges. Dinosaur eggs required stable, suitable environments for incubation. Temperature, humidity, and protection from predators all mattered. On land, dinosaurs could select nesting sites that met these needs. In the ocean, such control disappears. There are no safe, stable underwater nurseries for hard-shelled eggs, and dragging a multi-ton body onto land just to lay eggs is not an efficient long-term strategy. Some modern animals manage this compromise. Sea turtles, for example, return to land to lay eggs. But they are not fully aquatic in the same sense as whales or dolphins. They are tied to shorelines by reproduction, and their entire life cycle reflects that limitation. For dinosaurs, whose bodies were already optimized for land, such a system would not represent a true transition. It would simply be land animals occasionally getting wet. Reproductive strategy also shapes behavior. Animals that give live birth in water can protect, nurse, or guide their young immediately. Those that lay eggs often must guard nests or rely on environmental conditions for development. Dinosaurs invested heavily in nesting behaviors suited to land. Shifting those behaviors into an aquatic context would require not just anatomical changes, but massive behavioral rewiring. Evolution can change reproductive strategies, but it does so slowly and under strong pressure. The shift from egg-laying to live birth is significant. It affects anatomy, physiology, development time, and parental investment. There is no evidence that dinosaurs were on this trajectory. Their reproductive success on land was already high. There was no incentive to abandon a working system. And here is the crucial point. Reproduction does not just need to work sometimes. It needs to work reliably, generation after generation. An animal that struggles to reproduce will be outcompeted by one that does not. In the ocean, dinosaurs would have been competing with animals whose entire life cycles were already perfectly integrated into aquatic environments. The absence of underwater maternity wards is not a joke. It is a real evolutionary barrier. Without a safe, efficient way to reproduce in water, dinosaurs could never fully commit to aquatic life. They would always be visitors, never residents. So even if a dinosaur managed to overcome challenges related to movement, buoyancy, and breathing, reproduction would have pulled it back to land. And evolution does not reward half commitments. In the end, dinosaurs were not stuck with hard-shelled eggs by accident. That strategy helped them thrive on land for millions of years. But in the ocean, it closed the door. No matter how inviting the water looked, the next generation still needed dry ground. Temperature is an invisible predator in the ocean. You cannot see it, you cannot hear it, and yet it shapes who lives where with ruthless efficiency. On land, temperature can be uncomfortable, even dangerous, but animals have options. They can bask, seek shade, burrow, or migrate short distances. In water, especially deeper water, cold is inescapable. And this is another reason dinosaurs never truly made the ocean their home. Water removes heat from the body far more efficiently than air. Even water that feels mild to a human can rapidly drain body heat over time. In deeper or open oceans, temperatures drop sharply and remain cold year-round. Animals that live there must either produce heat continuously, retain heat extremely well, or both. There is no middle ground. Lose heat faster than you can replace it, and your muscles stop working. Your nervous system slows. Eventually, you shut down. Dinosaurs were not equipped for this challenge. Whatever their metabolic state, their bodies lacked the specialized insulation seen in animals that thrive in cold water. Aquatic mammals use thick layers of fat to trap heat and prevent rapid heat loss. This insulation also smooths body contours, reducing drag while swimming. Dinosaurs did not evolve this kind of thermal armor. Feathers and other coverings seen in some dinosaurs served different purposes, primarily related to land environments. They were not designed to function as waterproof, heat-retaining layers in cold, high-pressure water. Once soaked, many insulating materials lose effectiveness. In water, insulation must be dense, continuous, and integrated with the body's overall design. Heat production alone is not enough. An animal can generate warmth, but without insulation, that warmth vanishes into the surrounding water. Maintaining body temperature in the ocean requires a constant, enormous energy investment. Animals that succeed have evolved metabolic strategies to support this cost, paired with insulation to make the effort worthwhile. Dinosaurs show no evidence of having such systems. Their energy budgets were tuned for land, where heat loss is slower and easier to manage. On land, large body size can help retain heat. In water, size alone is not enough. Without proper insulation, even large animals lose heat rapidly. The problem intensifies with depth. As light disappears and temperatures fall, the thermal challenge becomes severe. Deep water environments are consistently cold, often near freezing. Animals that live there are either cold-tolerant specialists or equipped with powerful heat retention strategies. Dinosaurs never evolved either. Thermoregulation also affects behavior. Aquatic animals often migrate vertically or horizontally to manage temperature, moving between warmer and colder layers of water. This requires precise physiological control and sensory feedback. Dinosaurs, built for land-based temperature management, lacked the systems to fine-tune body temperature in such a dynamic environment. Cold also impacts reproduction and development. Embryos, juveniles, and young animals are especially vulnerable to temperature fluctuations. Aquatic species that reproduce in cold environments have evolved strategies to protect developing young from thermal stress. Dinosaurs, with land-based reproductive strategies, never needed to solve this problem. There is also the issue of recovery. On land, an animal that becomes cold can warm itself relatively quickly by moving into sunlight or shelter. In the ocean, there is no easy reset button. Once heat is lost, regaining it takes time and energy. For an animal without proper insulation, repeated exposure to cold water becomes a chronic threat. This makes long-term ocean living extremely risky. Occasional swimming or shallow water activity is one thing. Permanent residence in cold marine environments is another. The ocean does not forgive thermal inefficiency. Some animals overcome this with extraordinary adaptations. They concentrate blood flow, use countercurrent heat exchange, and maintain warm cores even in icy water. These are not minor tweaks. They are fundamental redesigns of how bodies manage energy and heat. Dinosaurs never evolved these features. And again, evolution only builds what is needed. Dinosaurs thrived in environments where temperature could be managed through behavior and size. The ocean would have demanded constant physiological vigilance. The cost would have outweighed the benefits. So while the image of a dinosaur cruising through dark, cold waters is thrilling, The reality is far less glamorous. Without insulation, without metabolic safeguards, and without thermal control systems, dinosaurs in the ocean would not be terrifying predators. They would be cold, sluggish, and very short-lived. The ocean rewards those who can keep their heat. Dinosaurs, for all their dominance on land, were not among them. Movement is where the ocean exposes every design flaw. On land, gravity and friction create predictable rules. Push against the ground, and the ground pushes back. In water, there is nothing solid to brace against. Every movement must push water itself, and water pushes back reluctantly, swirling, slipping, and stealing energy at every turn. This is why locomotion is one of the most decisive barriers between land animals and fully aquatic ones. Aquatic animals move by generating thrust in fluid. This requires broad, flat surfaces that can push large volumes of water efficiently. Fins, flippers, and specialized tails are not decorative. They are precision tools shaped by millions of years of hydrodynamic refinement. The goal is smooth, continuous propulsion with minimal wasted motion. Dinosaurs were built for something else entirely. Their limbs were jointed, muscular, and optimized for alternating strides against solid ground. Each step involved lifting, swinging, and planting a limb. This works beautifully on land. In water, it becomes inefficient and clumsy. Swinging limbs through water creates drag rather than thrust. Energy is lost with every stroke. Dinosaur arms and legs were narrow relative to aquatic flippers. They lacked the surface area needed to push water effectively. Even if a dinosaur could paddle, it would be doing so with tools never meant for the job. The result would be slow, exhausting movement that could not compete with true swimmers. Tails present an even clearer contrast. In aquatic animals, the tail is often the primary engine. It is flexible in controlled ways, allowing powerful side-to-side or up and down motion that drives the animal forward. The shape, stiffness, and muscle arrangement of these tails are finely tuned to interact with water. Dinosaur tails served a different purpose. They acted as counterbalances, stabilizing the body during movement on land. They helped maintain posture, support muscles, and assist with turning while running. Their stiffness and muscle distribution reflect these functions. Converting such a tail into an efficient aquatic propeller would require extensive redesign. Water also demands stability. Aquatic animals must control roll, pitch, and yaw simultaneously. Fins and flippers help manage these axes, allowing precise maneuvering. Dinosaurs lacked these control surfaces. Their bodies were balanced for upright movement, not three-dimensional fluid dynamics. Turning in water is especially revealing. Aquatic animals use subtle adjustments of fins and body curvature to change direction smoothly. Dinosaurs would have had to rely on awkward limb movements and body twists, wasting energy and losing speed. In a predator-prey context, this inefficiency is fatal. Locomotion also affects endurance. Aquatic animals are built to swim for long periods without fatigue. Their muscle fibers, energy use, and movement patterns are optimized for sustained propulsion. Dinosaurs, even athletic ones, were not adapted for continuous swimming. Their muscles were tuned for bursts of activity interspersed with rest. The ocean punishes inefficiency relentlessly. A predator that cannot swim efficiently will struggle to catch prey. A prey animal that cannot swim efficiently will struggle to escape. Over time, even small differences in locomotion efficiency decide survival. It is tempting to imagine dinosaurs gradually becoming better swimmers, but improvement in water is not incremental in the same way as on land. Without the right surfaces and mechanics, small changes do little. Effective swimming requires a threshold of adaptation. Dinosaurs never crossed it. Some animals bridge environments by developing dual-purpose locomotion. But these animals still show clear compromises. They are never the fastest runners and the fastest swimmers at the same time. Dinosaurs, already highly optimized for land movement, would have had to sacrifice much of that advantage to gain modest aquatic ability. Evolution tends not to favor such trade-offs unless the reward is substantial. In the ocean, dinosaurs would have been outmaneuvered, outpaced, and outlasted. Their movements would lack the fluid grace seen in animals born to the water. What looks powerful on land becomes awkward underwater. So when we picture a dinosaur slicing effortlessly through the sea, we are imagining a body performing a dance it was never trained for. And in the ocean, poor dancers do not last long. If you want proof that land animals can return to the ocean, you do not need to look far. Whales, dolphins, seals, and sea lions are all descendants of land-dwelling mammals. They walked, they breathed air, they lived on solid ground, and yet today, some of them spend their entire lives at sea. This raises an obvious question. If mammals could do it, why not dinosaurs? The answer lies in how complete the transformation was. Mammals that returned to the ocean did not half commit. They underwent some of the most dramatic anatomical overhauls in evolutionary history. Limbs became flippers, tails became primary engines of propulsion, bodies stretched, smoothed, and streamlined. External ears vanished, necks shortened, spines adapted for undulating movement. This was not a makeover, it was a rebuild. Crucially, these changes happened gradually, with each step offering a survival advantage in aquatic environments. Early whale ancestors still walked on land, then they became semi-aquatic, then fully aquatic. At each stage, natural selection favored traits that improved swimming, diving, and underwater efficiency. Over millions of years, the land-based blueprint was steadily overwritten. Dinosaurs never went down this road. There is no evidence of dinosaur lineages progressing through increasingly aquatic forms in the way mammals did. No transitional stages showing gradual limb flattening, tail reshaping, or body streamlining specifically for open water life. The evolutionary commitment simply was not there. Part of the reason is opportunity. Mammals returning to the sea did so after major extinction events reshaped ecosystems. The oceans had available niches, and competition allowed new strategies to succeed. Dinosaurs, in contrast, thrived in a world where land ecosystems were already rich and rewarding. There was no ecological push forcing them toward radical change. Another factor is flexibility. Mammals possess a body plan that, while not originally aquatic, proved surprisingly adaptable. Their limb structure allowed for gradual modification into flippers. Their spines could be repurposed for swimming motion. Their reproductive strategies and metabolic systems provided a foundation that could be reshaped for aquatic demands. Dinosaurs, by contrast, were highly specialized for land. Their upright posture, limb configuration, and overall body mechanics were fine-tuned for terrestrial movement. Specialization is a double-edged sword. It brings dominance in one environment, but reduces flexibility when conditions change. Mammals returning to the sea were not at the peak of land dominance. They were experimenting from a position of relative disadvantage. Commitment is the key word here. Whales did not keep one foot on land. Seals, even those that still haul out, are fundamentally aquatic animals with bodies shaped for swimming first. Their time on land is secondary. Dinosaurs never crossed that line. They did not abandon land-based dominance to gamble on aquatic success. Evolution also rewards lineages that can afford to lose certain abilities. Aquatic mammals gave up efficient walking. Some lost hind limbs entirely. These are enormous sacrifices. But in water, those losses became irrelevant. Dinosaurs, whose success depended heavily on land mobility, had no incentive to make such sacrifices. There is also the matter of time. The transition from land to sea in mammals took tens of millions of years. It required stable conditions and persistent selective pressure. Dinosaurs, despite their long reign, never experienced a sustained evolutionary push in that direction. Their world kept rewarding land-based adaptations. Comparing dinosaurs to aquatic mammals highlights an important lesson. Returning to the sea is possible, but only through relentless, uncompromising change. You cannot dabble. You cannot keep your old design and expect the ocean to adapt to you. The ocean demands that you adapt to it completely. Dinosaurs were already winning the evolutionary game they were playing. There was no reason to switch tables. Mammals that returned to the sea did so because the alternative was extinction or marginal survival on land. That pressure forged innovation. So the question is not why dinosaurs failed to become aquatic. It is why they never needed to try. And in evolution, need is everything. If there is one dinosaur that seems determined to challenge the idea that dinosaurs and water never mixed, it is Spinosaurus. Long snout, conical teeth, paddle-like tail. Every few years, new discoveries seem to push it further into the water, and the internet responds accordingly by declaring it the first aquatic dinosaur. But here is the crucial distinction. Being comfortable in water is not the same as living in it full-time. Spinosaurus and similar dinosaurs represent a fascinating middle ground. They show us how far dinosaurs could go toward aquatic lifestyles without crossing the final line. These animals were well adapted to rivers, wetlands, and coastal environments. They could swim, they could hunt aquatic prey. They likely spent significant portions of their lives in and around water, but they were not fully aquatic in the way marine animals are. Spinosaurus lived in environments dominated by rivers, floodplains, and mangrove-like systems. These were shallow, dynamic ecosystems rich in fish and other aquatic life. For a large predator, this was an opportunity. Instead of competing head-on with other land predators, Spinosaurus specialized in exploiting food sources that others could not. Its long, narrow snout and tooth shape were ideal for catching slippery prey, unlike the blade-like teeth of many meat-eating dinosaurs. Spinosaurus had conical teeth suited for gripping rather than slicing. This is a hallmark of fish-eating animals. It did not need to tear large chunks of flesh. It needed to hold onto wriggling meals. The tail of Spinosaurus is another key feature. Unlike the tails of most dinosaurs, it appears to have been taller and more laterally compressed. This shape would have improved swimming ability, allowing side-to-side motion that could generate thrust in water. It was not the sleek, powerful tail of a fully aquatic animal, but it was far more water-friendly than typical dinosaur tails. Even with these adaptations, Spinosaurus remained fundamentally a land animal. Its limbs, posture, and overall body structure were still tied to terrestrial movement. It could walk, stand, and move on land, even if somewhat awkwardly compared to other dinosaurs. It did not abandon land, it expanded its range. This is an important evolutionary pattern. Animals often become semi-aquatic when there is an advantage to exploiting aquatic resources without fully committing to aquatic life. Rivers and wetlands offer food abundance with relatively low competition. The water is shallow. The risks are manageable. You can hunt in water and retreat to land when needed. Fully aquatic life removes that safety net. Once you commit, there is no easy exit. Semi-aquatic dinosaurs like Spinosaurus avoided that risk. They adapted just enough to benefit from water without sacrificing the advantages of land living. This strategy also avoids many of the evolutionary hurdles discussed earlier. Shallow water does not demand the same buoyancy control, thermal protection, or diving capacity as open ocean environments. Swimming short distances or ambushing prey in rivers is far easier than surviving in deep, cold seas. Spinosaurus shows us that dinosaurs were not ignorant of aquatic opportunities. They were capable of exploring them creatively, but exploration is not the same as colonization. The adaptations seen in Spinosaurus are specialized tools for a specific ecological niche, not steps along a path to full marine life. Think of it this way. Spinosaurus learned to paddle very well. It did not grow gills, develop flippers, or give up walking. It did not redesign its entire body around water. It simply expanded its skill set. Evolution often favors such flexible solutions when they offer rewards without extreme costs. This also explains why we do not see a gradual progression from Spinosaurus-like animals to true aquatic dinosaurs. The semi-aquatic niche was already profitable. There was no pressure to go further. Rivers provided food. Land provided safety. The balance worked. Spinosaurus is not evidence that dinosaurs almost became fully aquatic. It is evidence that they found a comfortable compromise. And in evolutionary terms, a comfortable compromise can last a very long time. So yes, dinosaurs could swim. Some were even quite good at it. But swimming does not make you aquatic. Spinosaurus owned the kayak. It just never felt the need to move out to sea. Ecosystems do not run on vibes. They run on roles. Every environment is divided into ecological niches, specific jobs that organisms fill in order to survive. Who eats whom, where food comes from, how energy moves through the system, and by the time dinosaurs were dominating land, the ocean had already filled its resume folder to the brim. An ecological niche is not just a place to live, it is a combination of diet, behavior, habitat, and survival strategy. In the ocean, these niches are incredibly precise. There are hunters for the surface, the midwater, the deep, the seafloor, the reefs, the open ocean, and everything in between. Each layer of water comes with its own rules, and each rule has already shaped the animals that live there. This vertical complexity is something land ecosystems rarely match. On land, food webs spread outward. In the ocean, they stack. Light fades with depth, pressure increases, temperature drops, prey types change, and at every layer, predators evolve to exploit exactly what is available there. By the time dinosaurs might have considered moving in, there were already specialists occupying every viable hunting strategy. At the surface, fast-moving predators chased schools of fish. In midwater, ambush hunters lurked in dim light, relying on speed or stealth. Along the seafloor, crushing jaws and suction feeders targeted bottom-dwelling prey. Even the deep ocean, once thought barren, hosted its own slow-moving but highly adapted predators. There was no empty space waiting to be claimed. To enter one of these niches, an animal needs more than size. It needs compatibility. It must be able to catch the available prey more efficiently than existing predators. It must survive the physical conditions of that depth. It must reproduce successfully within that system. Dinosaurs, even large and powerful ones, lack the specific tools required for these highly tuned roles. Size alone does not grant access to a niche. In fact, size can be a disadvantage. Large predators require enormous amounts of food. In the ocean, that food is often spread across vast areas. Marine predators evolved efficient ways to locate, pursue, and process prey over long distances. They were not just big, they were optimized. Dinosaurs entering this system would have faced a problem. Which niche would they take? They were not faster than existing pursuit predators. They were not more maneuverable than ambush hunters. They were not better suited to crushing shells or suction feeding. Every available strategy already had a specialist who had been refining that role for millions of years. Ecological niches also resist invasion. Once a niche is filled, the organisms occupying it shape the environment to their advantage. They reduce available prey. They influence prey behavior. They even alter the physical structure of habitats. This makes it harder for newcomers to gain a foothold. The ocean, by the Mesozoic, was a mature ecosystem with deeply entrenched dynamics. Dinosaurs, by contrast, rose to dominance during periods of ecological disruption on land. Open niches allowed them to diversify rapidly. Forests, plains, and floodplains offered opportunities that were not yet fully claimed. The ocean did not offer the same blank slate. There is also the matter of specialization cost. To compete in a marine niche, a dinosaur would have to abandon many of its land-based advantages. That trade-off only makes sense if the new niche offers greater rewards. But in the ocean, rewards were already being efficiently harvested by others. The cost-benefit calculation did not favor dinosaurs. This is why evolution does not endlessly pile new predators into the same role. Redundancy is inefficient. If a niche is working, there is little incentive for radically different body plans to invade it. Instead, evolution tends to refine existing players rather than replace them with outsiders. The absence of a giant water dinosaur is not a mystery when viewed through this lens. There was no vacancy, no unused food source, no ecological role crying out for a terrestrial giant to take over. The ocean already had predators that were faster, more efficient, and better adapted to their environments. So when we imagine a water dinosaur as the ultimate apex predator, we are projecting land-based thinking onto a system that does not operate that way. The ocean does not crown kings based on size or intimidation. It rewards precision, efficiency, and fit. And in that crowded, finely tuned system, dinosaurs were not needed. The job was already taken. The ocean is not just dark, it is strange. It bends sound, swallows light, distorts distance, and applies pressure like a slow, relentless squeeze. In this environment, survival depends not only on how you move or eat, but on how you perceive the world around you. And this is where dinosaurs would have been operating at a serious sensory disadvantage. On land, vision dominates. Light travels easily through air, colors remain stable, and depth perception works the way brains expect it to. Dinosaurs evolved eyes and visual processing suited to this reality. Their sensory systems were tuned for landscapes, horizons, and daylight. Underwater, those assumptions fall apart almost immediately. Water absorbs light rapidly. Colors disappear with depth, starting with reds and moving through the spectrum until everything fades into blue and then black. Objects appear closer than they are. Contrast is reduced. In deeper or murkier water, vision becomes unreliable or useless. Aquatic animals adapt by enhancing sensitivity, modifying eye structure, or relying less on vision altogether. Dinosaurs never evolved such upgrades. Their eyes were built for air, not water. Refraction at the water's surface changes how light enters the eye, without adaptations to compensate. Focus becomes distorted. This is why humans see poorly underwater without goggles. Aquatic animals solve this problem with specialized lenses and eye shapes that function correctly in water. Dinosaurs lacked these features. Then there is pressure. As an animal dives deeper, pressure increases dramatically. This affects not just the lungs, but sensory organs as well. Eyes, ears, and nerves must withstand compression without losing function. Marine animals evolve structures that protect sensitive tissues and maintain performance under pressure. Dinosaurs never faced this challenge, so their sensory systems were never reinforced for it. Sound is another major difference. In water, sound travels faster and farther than in air. It becomes a primary source of information. Many aquatic animals rely on sound to locate prey, avoid predators, and navigate vast spaces. This requires specialized hearing structures tuned to underwater acoustics. Land animals process sound through air-filled spaces. Underwater, those same structures perform poorly. Marine animals evolve ways to transmit sound vibrations directly through tissue or specialized bones. Dinosaurs did not possess such systems. Their hearing was optimized for land-based cues, not the omnidirectional, fast-moving soundscape of the ocean. Orientation is also more complex underwater. Without a clear up or down, animals rely on sensory feedback from multiple systems to maintain balance and direction. Aquatic animals integrate information from vision, pressure, and internal balance organs to navigate three-dimensional space. Dinosaurs evolved in a world where gravity and ground provided constant reference points. Their sensory integration reflected that. The ocean also introduces new types of signals. Changes in water movement, pressure waves from other animals, and subtle environmental cues all convey information. Aquatic animals evolve receptors that detect these signals, giving them awareness beyond sight and sound. Dinosaurs show no evidence of such sensory expansions. Sensory systems shape behavior. An animal that cannot reliably detect prey or predators will struggle regardless of size or strength. In the ocean, where encounters can happen suddenly and from any direction, delayed or distorted perception is dangerous. Marine reptiles evolved sensory systems suited to their environment. They could track movement, detect vibrations, and function in low-light conditions. Their brains processed information from water-based inputs efficiently. Dinosaurs, tied to land-based sensory assumptions, would have found the ocean disorienting and unpredictable. This sensory mismatch also affects hunting strategies. Successful aquatic predators anticipate movement, track prey through limited visual cues, and respond to changes in water flow. Dinosaurs, lacking these sensory tools, would be reacting late and inaccurately. Evolution rarely upgrades sensory systems without sustained pressure. Dinosaurs never spent enough time in aquatic environments for such pressure to reshape their perception. Their senses worked perfectly well on land. There was no reason to change. So while it is tempting to imagine dinosaurs adapting their bodies for water, it is easy to forget that perception matters just as much. The ocean demands new ways of seeing, hearing, and feeling the world. Dinosaurs never installed those upgrades, and without them, the deep sea would not just be dangerous, it would be incomprehensible. Evolution does not happen in a calm, controlled laboratory. It unfolds in a world that periodically pulls the rug out from under everything living in it. Mass extinctions reset ecosystems, erase lineages, and interrupt long evolutionary experiments mid-sentence. And when it comes to the idea of dinosaurs becoming fully aquatic, timing may have been the ultimate deal breaker. Major evolutionary transitions take time, a lot of it. Moving from land to full marine life is not a weekend project. It requires millions of years of gradual change, with each generation nudging anatomy, physiology, and behavior closer to compatibility with water. Even lineages that eventually succeed must survive long enough for the process to complete. Dinosaurs lived during an era punctuated by instability. While their reign seems long from a human perspective, it was not a smooth, uninterrupted stretch of calm. Climate shifts, sea level changes, volcanic activity, and ecological turnovers repeatedly reshaped the planet. These disruptions did not wipe out dinosaurs immediately, but they constantly altered the playing field. For a lineage experimenting with a radical lifestyle change, such instability is dangerous. Transitional forms are often less competitive than specialists. They sit awkwardly between worlds, not yet fully adapted to the new environment and no longer optimized for the old one. These forms can survive when conditions are stable. When conditions deteriorate, they are usually the first to disappear. If any dinosaur lineage had begun drifting toward full marine adaptation, it would have faced this exact vulnerability. While land-adapted dinosaurs continued to thrive, a partially aquatic lineage would be balancing trade-offs. Reduced land efficiency, incomplete aquatic specialization, and narrow ecological margins would make it fragile in the face of environmental stress. Then came the ultimate interruption. The end of the Cretaceous period brought one of the most famous mass extinctions in Earth's history. A catastrophic event reshaped ecosystems on a global scale. Food webs collapsed, climate patterns shifted abruptly, light levels dropped. Survival favored small, flexible, fast-reproducing organisms that could endure harsh conditions. Large-bodied, highly specialized animals were hit hardest. This applies to land and sea alike. Any dinosaur lineage mid-transition to full marine life would have been especially vulnerable. Large size, narrow ecological focus, and reliance on stable environments are not traits that fare well during global collapse. Extinction does not politely wait for evolution to finish its work. It does not care how close a lineage might be to a breakthrough. If conditions change too rapidly, the experiment ends. In this case, even if dinosaurs had begun edging toward true aquatic life, the clock likely ran out. It is also important to consider survivorship bias. We only see successful evolutionary transitions in hindsight. Whales, seals, and other aquatic mammals completed their journey because they survived long enough to do so. Countless other lineages likely attempted similar transitions and failed, leaving no descendants to tell the story. Dinosaurs may have been no different. There may have been early experiments, tentative steps toward deeper aquatic lifestyles that never progressed far enough to leave a clear fossil record. These attempts, if they existed, would have been erased by extinction before reaching full expression. Mass extinctions also reshape ecological opportunity. After the dinosaurs disappeared, mammals diversified rapidly, including those that would eventually return to the sea. The timing worked in their favor. They evolved in a post-extinction world with newly available niches and reduced competition. Dinosaurs did not get that second chance. Their evolutionary story ended before a full marine transition could play out. This is not a judgment on their potential. It is a reminder that evolution is constrained by history as much as by biology. So when we ask why there was never a true water dinosaur, part of the answer lies not in anatomy or physics, but in timing. The experiment, if it ever began, was interrupted. The loading bar never reached 100%. And in the unforgiving timeline of Earth's history, unfinished experiments leave no fossils labeled almost. They simply vanish. At this point, the science has made something very clear. A true water dinosaur never existed. And yet, despite all the evidence, the idea refuses to die. It keeps resurfacing in movies, documentaries, artwork, and internet debates like a prehistoric sea monster that just will not stay submerged. To understand why, we have to stop thinking like biologists for a moment and start thinking like humans. Humans are storytelling animals. We are wired to fill gaps in knowledge with imagination, especially when those gaps are dark, vast, and full of things we cannot see. And nothing fits that description better than the ocean. Most of it remains unexplored. Light disappears quickly. Sound behaves strangely. Shapes move in the distance and vanish. Our brains do not like incomplete information, so we compensate by exaggerating. Enter dinosaurs. They are already oversized, already extinct, already mysterious. Combine them with the ocean, and you get the perfect mental shortcut for fear, a known symbol of power placed into an unknown environment. It is the narrative equivalent of turning the volume knob all the way up. There is also a psychological bias at work called scale inflation. When we cannot directly observe something, we tend to imagine it as larger and more threatening than it is. Deep-sea animals often look bizarre and exaggerated, even when they are not particularly dangerous. Now imagine adding dinosaur proportions to that visual language. The result is irresistible to the imagination. Movies and media amplify this instinct. Subtlety does not read well on screen. A scientifically accurate marine ecosystem, full of efficient but specialized predators, does not deliver the same emotional punch as a single colossal monster erupting from the depths. Water dinosaurs become shorthand for danger, mystery, and awe, all rolled into one scaly package. There is also nostalgia involved. Dinosaurs are often introduced to us in childhood, when imagination runs freely and scientific nuance takes a back seat to wonder. Many people first encounter prehistoric life through books and films that blur distinctions for the sake of excitement. Those early impressions stick. Later corrections feel like taking away a favorite toy. The ocean itself invites myth-making. For most of human history, it was largely inaccessible and poorly understood. Sea serpents, krakens, and leviathans filled the maps where knowledge ended. Water dinosaurs slide neatly into this tradition. They are modern versions of ancient sea monsters, wearing the mask of science while still delivering myth. There is also a misunderstanding of how evolution works. Many people unconsciously think of evolution as a ladder of improvement, with animals becoming bigger, stronger, and more dominant over time. In that framework, the idea that dinosaurs did not conquer the ocean feels counterintuitive. Surely the biggest, toughest animals would dominate every environment. But evolution does not reward intimidation, it rewards fit. The ocean does not care how impressive something looks, it cares whether it works. That is a less emotionally satisfying story, but a more accurate one. The phrase water dinosaur also benefits from linguistic simplicity. It is easy to say, easy to imagine. Marine reptile sounds technical. Fully aquatic, non-dinosaurian reptile lineage does not exactly roll off the tongue. Simpler ideas spread faster, even if they are wrong. And let us be honest, humans enjoy being scared in safe contexts. A giant predator lurking beneath the waves taps into deep instincts. It is the same reason shark movies remain popular, even though actual sharks are far less monstrous than portrayed. add dinosaur branding, and you have a guaranteed attention magnet. Ironically, the real ocean is already full of creatures that are stranger and more specialized than any fictional water dinosaur. But they require explanation. They require patience. A giant sea dinosaur requires none. So our love for water dinosaurs says less about prehistoric reality and more about human psychology. We crave spectacle. We fear what we cannot see. We inflate threats when faced with uncertainty. And we are very good at confusing cinematic excitement with biological plausibility. In the end, the water dinosaur persists because it satisfies our imagination, not because it reflects nature. And sometimes, understanding why we believe something is just as important as understanding why it is wrong. After traveling through anatomy, physics, ecology, physiology, and human imagination, we arrive at the quiet truth behind the missing water dinosaur. Evolution is not a creative writing exercise. It does not ask what would be coolest or scariest. It asks what works right now under very specific conditions. And for dinosaurs, what worked was land. Evolution is shaped by two forces that constantly negotiate with each other. Opportunity opens doors. Constraints decide which ones you can actually walk through. Dinosaurs had immense opportunity on land. Vast continents, shifting climates, abundant food sources, and ecological roles waiting to be filled. They stepped into those roles and flourished. At the same time, they carried constraints, inherited traits, developmental pathways, and structural commitments that shaped what they could become. These constraints were not flaws. They were the very reasons dinosaurs succeeded so spectacularly. Upright posture, powerful limbs, strong skeletons, and efficient movement gave them dominance where they lived. The ocean presented a different set of rules. Thriving there required an entirely different relationship with physics, chemistry, and space. It demanded specific solutions to movement, perception, reproduction, and survival. Other reptile lineages, free from the same terrestrial commitments, explored those solutions earlier and more thoroughly. They did not outcompete dinosaurs by being better. They outcompeted them by being better suited. This division of success is one of evolution's most consistent patterns. Different lineages dominate different environments, not because one is superior, but because each is constrained and enabled in different ways. Birds rule the skies. Fish rule the water. Dinosaurs ruled the land. No group gets everything. When we look at dinosaurs through this lens, their absence from the ocean stops being strange. It becomes logical. They had no evolutionary incentive to abandon a winning strategy. Every step toward full aquatic life would have required sacrificing land-based advantages without guaranteed payoff. Meanwhile, marine reptiles faced the opposite pressures. Their success depended on mastering water. Their bodies, behaviors, and life cycles were shaped accordingly. They did not fail to become dinosaurs. They succeeded at being marine animals. This perspective also reminds us that evolution is deeply historical. The paths available to any lineage depend on where it starts. Dinosaurs started on land and found success there. Their story unfolded along that path. Imagining them as ocean rulers requires ignoring the weight of their history. It is tempting to think of evolution as endlessly flexible, capable of producing anything given enough time. But time alone is not enough. Direction matters, constraints matter, and extinction can end even the most promising experiments without warning. Dinosaurs were not incomplete. They were not missing a step. They were exactly what evolution shaped them to be. Their legacy is written across continents, not seafloors. When other animals returned to the sea, they did so because the balance of opportunity and constraint pushed them there. Dinosaurs never experienced that push strongly enough to overcome their terrestrial momentum. Understanding this does something important. It replaces disappointment with appreciation. Instead of asking why dinosaurs did not conquer the ocean, we can ask how life found so many different ways to conquer Earth. Each lineage tells a story of adaptation, shaped by limits as much as possibilities. The absence of water dinosaurs is not a gap in nature's imagination. It is a signature of how evolution works. Practical, relentless, unromantic, and endlessly fascinating. Dinosaurs stayed on land not because they could not swim the seas, but because they did not need to. And in evolution, need is the strongest force of all. If there is one final idea worth leaving floating in the listener's mind, it is this. The ocean never needed dinosaurs to be extraordinary. It has always been doing just fine on its own. Long before the first dinosaur footprint pressed into mud, the seas were already experimenting with body plans that defy intuition, shapes that seem impossible, behaviors that sound invented, survival strategies so specific they feel like they were designed by someone who enjoys unsettling people. The absence of a true water dinosaur did not leave a void. It left room for something even more interesting. Consider how alien the ocean becomes the moment sunlight fades. Down there, life does not follow familiar rules. Bodies stretch into ribbons or compress into armored plates. Mouths open wider than faces. Teeth curve inward like traps. Bioluminescence flickers in patterns that look like communication from another world. These creatures are not exaggerated for drama. They are simply what works when pressure is high, light is scarce, and energy is precious. The terror we associate with fictional water dinosaurs often comes from their size and power. But in the ocean, danger does not always scale up. Sometimes it scales sideways. Sometimes it hides. Sometimes it glows. Nature found countless ways to be unsettling without ever borrowing from dinosaur blueprints. Even the ancient oceans were filled with predators that would have looked outrageous by land standards. Some were fast and sleek. Others were slow and patient. Some hunted in open water. Others waited motionless for prey to drift too close. The diversity of solutions is the point. Evolution did not settle on one monster. It tried everything. And that is what makes the real story better than the fictional one. A single giant water dinosaur would have been impressive, but predictable. What we actually got was an ocean filled with specialists, each shaped by precise constraints, each occupying a narrow slice of possibility. There is something deeply humbling about this. Humans tend to imagine dominance as a single throne occupied by the biggest creature. The ocean does not work that way. It is a mosaic of roles, pressures, and adaptations layered through depth and time. The fear we feel toward the ocean often comes from not knowing what is there. Our imaginations fill the darkness with familiar shapes scaled up to frightening proportions. But the truth is stranger. The ocean's residents do not resemble our monsters because they were not designed to scare us. They were designed to survive. In that sense, fictional water dinosaurs are a kind of misunderstanding. They assume nature needs help to be dramatic. It does not. It simply needs to be itself. Dinosaurs belong to land, not because the ocean rejected them, but because the ocean already had a story unfolding. A story written in pressure, motion, and darkness. A story that did not need rewriting. When we let go of the idea that dinosaurs must exist everywhere to be interesting, we gain something better. We gain an appreciation for the true creativity of evolution, not the creativity of imagination, but the creativity of constraint, of solving problems with whatever materials history provides. So the next time someone asks why there was never a true water dinosaur, the answer is not disappointment. It is amazement. Amazement that life found so many other ways to fill the sea with wonder, danger, and beauty. The ocean was never empty. It was never boring. And it never needed dinosaurs to be unforgettable. Sometimes, the most incredible monsters are the ones that actually existed.